so would you like to see Sharia law in Canada replace Canadian law?
At some point it will. You know, because we have families, we are making babies. You're not. Your population is going down the slump, right? And by 2060, according to Pew Research Institute, your research, by 2060, Muslims will be the biggest religious group the world over. What are you going to do then?
Actually,
to oppose Sharia is even then?
So you do support Sharia. You do want a Muslim majority nation in the West End, correct?
Just like you had a Western majority nation in the land of Native Americans, one day we can have a Muslim majority nation here in Canada. Right in your face.
Unsere Gesellschaft wird sich ändern. Unsere Stadt wird sich radikal verändern. Ich bin der Auffassung, dass wir in 20, 30 Jahren gar keine ethnischen Mehrheiten mehr haben in unserer Stadt. Das ist das, was wir haben werden in der Zukunft. Und ich sage Ihnen noch ganz deutlich, gerade hier in Richtung rechts, das ist gut so.
The world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth.
What truth?
You have to see it for yourself. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more. Follow me.
And the Christians are kafirs. And you may say to yourself, no, they're innocent. Listen, no kafir is innocent.
No kafir is innocent.
Let me tell you something. Islam is very powerful. It's super powerful. It has the oil, the money, the countries.
Do you know which name is more popular right now in Great Britain? George or Mohammed? George? Wrong. No, it's Mohammed.
Islam will take over the world.
Hey, Muhammad told hatred. Islam is hatred.
Your kids will be Muslim.
Hatred. That's why Islam has killed two of my brothers.
Take off your mask, Muslim. Your son will be Muslim.
We believe Islam is supreme. We believe Islam will dominate.
regarding urines.
The woman on top is something that's not good. It shouldn't happen.
I'm British Iraqi, gay, non-binary, and also identify as Muslim.
Let's put aside our differences and start praying of Salah.
I think a lot of people should have like sympathy towards me for everything I've been through.
But she was for the beheadings. Media outlets have simultaneously painted a sympathetic picture of these terrorist brides.
We believe that the Sharia will dominate. The Sharia will be implemented worldwide.
الإعلام والسياسات الغربية لا تصرف فقط أبناء أوروبا عن الإسلام، وإنما تعمل على سلخ المسلمين أنفسهم في أوروبا عن الإسلام.
Live on YouTube.
We believe that the Sharia will dominate. We believe that the Sharia will dominate.
لابد أن تغزى أوروبا، لابد أن تعاد الكرة لأوروبا. الجهاد يوجب فتح أوروبا، فقاتلوهم حتى لا تكون فتنة ويكون الدين كله لله.
Yeah, this is definitely true. It's in our religion that Sharia law will take over the whole world.
Yeah.
So when he's saying this is not wrong, that we want this, we believe this, we've come here, and we've come here to obviously provide our own law, live under our own law in someone else's country.
Some men aren't looking for anything logical, like money. They can't be bought, bullied, reasoned, or negotiated with. Some men just want to watch the world burn.
إيطاليا والله هنفتح إيطاليا. إيطاليا والله هنفتح إيطاليا وهنخش أوروبا والإسلام يخش المنطقة دي كلها. حتى أمريكا يا شيخ سالم، والله حتى أمريكا. الشمالية ولا الجنوبية؟ الشمالية والجنوبية.
هذا الضعف وهذا الخوف سيتحول إلى قوة، إلى منعة. سينتصر الإسلام بإذن الله تبارك وتعالى. سيحكم المسلمون مشارق الأرض ومغاربها.
سيأتي يوم نحكم فيه بريطانيا.
It's not right that for 500 years, imperialism has looted our country of all our wealth, has destroyed our country. We will come here, we have been coming here, and we will continue to come here in hundreds of millions until indeed Gaddafi said Europe will turn black.
هذه 50 مليون مسلم بعد عشرات السنين سيحول أوروبا إلى قارة مسلمة.
فتح روما، فتح إيطاليا يعني وأوروبا، معنى هذا إنه الإسلام سيعود إلى أوروبا مرة أخرى. هل من ضرورة الفتح أن يكون بالحرب؟ لا، ليس من الضرورة. هناك فتح سلمي.
Zürriyetimizi artıracağız. Neslimizi çoğaltacağız diyor. planlamasıymış, doğum kontrolüymüş. Hiçbir Müslüman aile böyle bir anlayışın içerisinde olamaz. Rabbim ne diyorsa, sevgili peygamberi ne diyorsa biz o yolda gideceğiz.
Rather than the Muslims adopting British values, why you not adopt our values? Why you believe that the British values are superior over the Islamic values?
You know, many have said that, well, American Muslims are much more assimilated and we don't have as much of a problem. I think that we're just a little behind where Europe has already gotten to.
Anyone who believes Sharia law supplants American law will not be given an immigrant visa.
Your thoughts, should Sharia law supersede the U.S. Constitution?
No, but I think the Sharia law is made by God, by Allah, and the Constitution is made by people. So it's not the same.
Do you believe that Sharia law should be above the U.S. Constitution?
Yes. Yes.
Sharia law is completely different than the United States Constitution. As a Muslim, you practice my Islamic law. As a Muslim, but United States Constitution, as a citizen, I have to respect the Constitution. Nothing to do with Sharia law. It's a Muslim country, Sharia law is allowed. Other country, no. You have to have a right constitution.
Should any religious law supersede the U.S. Constitution at any time? Any denomination?
Maybe in the future.
The U.S. Constitution deserve all the people living in U.S. their rights, right? So Sharia law does not contradict with this. Sharia law just protect our dignified. We are like human being, be respectful, to be respectful in the society.
So you think that the U.S. Constitution should be the law of the land in the U.S.?
Also helpful to protect our Sharia.
Should Sharia law be over the U.S. Constitution?
Yes. Every country have a different policy and different law, but I respect the law in any country I go.
Do you believe that the tenets of Sharia law should be over the U.S. Constitution?
No.
That U.S. Constitution, which is made by people, and the Sharia law is made by Allah. So that is all the way above. That has to be definitely in the land, not for the America, for the whole world would be above.
So that should be above the U.S. Constitution?
Yes.
But this message is not here to integrate. It's here to dominate. It's here to dominate. Islam is here to dominate. Islam is here to dominate.
Objectives that we have, then we have to have some way that we can communicate with them and some way we can work with them. And in that long-range process of making America Muslim, all of America Muslim, then we have to have some actual short-range goals. And some way we can work with them. And in that long-range process of making America Muslim, all of America Muslim,
of making America Muslim, all of America Muslim, of making America Muslim, all of America Muslim,
then we have to have some actual short-range goals. We have to have some way of dealing with them and know how we're going to deal with them and in which ways, and be very calculated about it, or else we will not accomplish our goals.
I find that there are only two things which are open to our movements: ballot or bullet, nothing in between.
Democracy, the values of freedom. No, we don't want them to sacrifice Islam. We want to Islamize democracy.
Our job is to change the Constitution of America.
That's not what Islam is all about. Islam is peace.
It's happening in Europe. And so my fear is that that's going to come here. And that's the biggest thing I cannot reiterate enough or emphasize enough. Do not capitulate.
American society is not hardwired. The society doesn't have a rigid code. Alhamdulillah, we do have a code. We have a code. So that gives us an advantage because they are like jello and we are like a knife.
It is very important. Media in the United States is very gullible. Okay? And they will see you have something, especially as a Muslim, if you have something to say, they'll come running to you and take advantage of that.
The affirmative task we have now
is to actually create a new world order, and the wave still continues. It's not going to stop, nor should we want it to stop. As a matter of fact, it's one of the things I think we can be most proud of. An unrelenting stream of immigration, non-stop. Folks like me who were Caucasian of European descent, for the first time in 2017, will be in an absolute minority in the United States of America. Absolute minority. Fewer than 50% of the people in America, from then and on, will be white European stock. That's not a bad thing. That's a source of our strength.
If they want to push us back or something like that, I don't know, maybe they can start to marry 4 wives and have a lot of children. Start with that, maybe they will have a chance, but I don't think so. If they want to push us back or something like that, I don't know, maybe they can start to marry 4 wives and have a lot of children. Start with that, maybe they will have a chance, but I don't think so.
Are you starting to see a pattern here?
You see, immigration without assimilation becomes an innovation. And what we're experiencing now is a population replacement in Europe that is doing us nothing good. What we need to do are 3 simple steps. We need to close our borders and control our borders like every other nation in the world does. We need a remigration of illegals, and we need to create perspectives at place. And here I'm completely with my partner that we need to create a future and a perspective in these countries.
In Europe, we have an aging population. We have a native, indigenous, if you want to call it that, birth, and I hate using those terms, birth rate of less than 0.9%, 0.9, which means that Europeans are not replacing themselves. They're choosing to have fewer and fewer children. They're Europeans are not replacing themselves. They're choosing to have fewer and fewer children. Now, migrant communities, Muslim communities, not just Muslim communities, all kinds of ethnic minority communities and religious majority communities across the world have higher birth rates. With 2, 3, 4, even some 5 children per family, and in different regions of the world we see that. So we have a problem. We have a fiscal structural deficit in Europe. We have an aging population. We have an economic crisis. We have economic burdens. Europe is at the end of civilization. This is a end of empires issue. And as Europe falls away and turns into crumble, people are going to come together and they're going to populate these places. Now this is not population replacement. Population replacement.
So Sanjay, I mean, do you believe there's a threat from the whole Muslim community, as Jada clearly does?
I feel that the majority of Muslims are intolerant, and I feel that Islam is completely incompatible with any non-Muslim country. In the same way, yeah. we are persecuted in Muslim countries all over the world. Non-Muslims are persecuted, so why should we appease them?
Well, maybe because we're more civilized. I don't know. What religion were you brought up in? I was brought up as a Christian. What were you brought up as?
Who, me? I was brought. I was brought up in a Hindu in a Hindu religion. Yeah.
Okay, well, like my daughter's boyfriend. So, explain you as a product of an ethnic minority in this country, why you worry about fellow immigrants or immigrant stock who are Muslims. Yeah. Explain to me.
Because when I was born in the UK, I was born in Leicester, and when I was born, there was majority white people. It wasn't so much the immigrants coming in, but then I saw a strange thing with Muslims, and I went to school with them. They used to segregate themselves. The boys used to gather up and bully people, and I used to see it. I was actually with them because I was friends. And I've brought up with Muslims who actually are moderate Muslims who tell me some really bad things about white girls. And I used to sit there and say, what on earth? And I was about 12 or 13 before I started to realize something's wrong here. And then I looked into it. It was religion. And it was. I used to go down my mate's house and they used to have 10 kids and the mum wouldn't care one bit. They were running around everywhere. You wouldn't believe the nonsense. The thing, I've been into a mosque, listen to this, with my mate. and the main speaker says to the to everyone in the mosque, he says, start having more kids. And when my mate come out, I said, why is that? Is it because you don't want to be brought up alone or something? He said, no, because they want to take over. I knew this when I was 13 years old.
The disbelievers themselves, they say that in 2030, something like that, there will be a majority Muslims here in Belgium. Even the city, Antwerp, more than 40% of the children in the schools are Muslims. So it's just a matter of time.
The Muslims that are peaceful are not, or moderate, they're not peaceful or moderate because they have a reformed version of Islam. They're ignoring Islam. They are abandoning Islam. They are Muslim by name, they're not practicing Islam. They're not practicing a reform. They are nice, these are people that are nicer than their own religion.
So you get the idea of, okay, so this is my enemy and I have to get to them. There are two ways. The first way is to come and give da'wah, to come and preach and to get them on my side. And once I feel that no, I can't get them on my side, I will have to fight them. So this is what's happening here in your country. You're having both. The terrorists are bombing you, and the preachers are right in Birmingham. So this is the idea that I had, that I should either be a preacher or should work with the caliphate. And one of my friends did as well. He was so smart, but he had this dogmatic belief, and he was studying civil engineering. This man traveled to Fallujah and joined ISIS and committed suicide bombing just for the name of Islam. And he was my dear friend. It's like, for me, like 90% of Muslims are ticking bombs. Because I wasn't an extremist, I was a normal Muslim. Few months, you are an extremist. This is very dangerous because everybody is a ticking bomb. So they say phobia is an irrational fear. But when you say Islamophobia, you have every reason to be afraid.
Yeah, I was an extremist. I was one of them, and I'm a former extremist, and I understand the minds of extremists, and I know how to de-radicalize too. I can help these people with, just like they get indoctrinated, you can be unindoctrinated. It just takes some re-education, and a little bit of empathy goes a long way.
So what do you believe? What do you believe the Quran tells you now? Given that at one stage you believe the Quran.
I think the Quran is a terrible book. I think the Quran was written by a man who believed he was a prophet. But you know, I was curious about religion too, so I wanted to read the Quran. And when I read it, I took it for what it said, and I was like, oh, I didn't realize that I didn't know my religion very well until I read the Quran. And it did advocate jihad, and it did advocate war and fighting the non-believers. So I wanted God to think for me, because I was too naive and too insecure at the time when I was a child to think for myself. Right, so I read the Quran and I did take it literally. When I did try to look up the tafsir, the explanations, I was kind of like, well, it's very self-explanatory. I don't really need a third party to clarify the words of God. He pretty much speaks well for himself. And yeah, there was jihad mentioned, and I knew what jihad meant. I knew what killing means. I knew what fighting means. I didn't need somebody to take me between the lines and say it only means jihad of the nafs, the struggle of yourself. I didn't need somebody to explain that, because I knew what God meant, and history pretty much explained it too. Even the story of the Prophet and how he expanded, it's just well-known knowledge. He expanded through war. It was the sword that made a lot of people convert, especially of Quraysh. I mean, why else would they convert? They didn't believe. They just knew that if they didn't convert, they would be dead. So they, like, for example, some of the Sahaba, Hind, for example, you know, she converted when he came and conquered Mecca. And if the Quraysh hadn't surrendered, they would have, Muhammad and his army would have fought for it. They didn't take it peacefully. So I knew what jihad meant, and so when Sufis tried to explain it off, I didn't buy it. When Bin Laden spoke about jihad, it made sense to me.
دخلنا صلينا الجمعة لقيت الشيخ واقف بيخطب وبيقول لا تنسوا أننا في ديار حرب، وأي بلاد كفر يشن عليها الحرب، أننا في ديار حرب، ولكن الظروف بتاعتهم مش بتاع حرب، إنما إحنا في خلال لو حافظنا على مستوى الزيادة العددية اللي بتتم في الإنجاب الإسلامي في هذه البلاد سنكون نحن الأكثرية، وبالتالي سنأخذ منهم هذا البلد.
Muslims pretend to be nice people.
Oh, but this is so jarring to Canadian ears.
So the Westerns are very naive. They say that they are very peaceful and love people. What are you saying?
Surely most Muslims are peaceful people.
Naive.
You're saying every Muslim is like that?
Look, every true Muslim is like that. A moderate Muslim, contemporary, polite, and moderate. But when the Islam prevails, all of them, they will become true Muslims and follow that strategy. We know them because we live among them 14 centuries. We live among them and know them very well. But the Western people did not live with them. So they just only see the peaceful way. But one day will come and they will know the truth, but it will be too late. I'm sorry to say that.
وبالتالي سنأخذ منهم هذا البلد بالديمقراطية التي سلطها عليهم الشيطان. فاخترعوا الديمقراطية كي يستلمها الصالحين الأبرار المسلمين ويقيموا عليها دولة الإسلام.
كيف ترى الداعية الإسلامي الكبير أستاذ عمرو خالد المشهد الإسلامي في أوروبا؟
هو أهم كلمة أن عدد المسلمين في أوروبا الآن من 25 ل 30 مليون. هذا الرقم له دلالات كبيرة ومعاني كبيرة.
من 25 ل 30 مليون مسلم
في أوروبا.
تمام.
المسلمين هم اللي بيخلفوا اوروبا ما بتخلفش. مما يعني ان خلال 20 تكون مسلميه غالبيه ممكن تكون لها تاثير غير عادي في التحكم في القرار وفي صنع القرار.
Das ist, glaube ich, ein wichtiges Signal an Sie, dass der Islam, so wie der Bundespräsident Wulff es gesagt hat, zu uns in Deutschland inzwischen gehört.
Democracy is the opposite of Sharia in Islam. We believe that Allah is the legislator. Allah makes the laws. He is the one who tells us what's allowed and what's forbidden.
مع عدم الزواج، مع عدم الرغبة في الإنجاب، الهرب بتاعهم 100 يرثه 80، وال80 بعد 10 سنين يورثهم 60، وال60 يورثهم كام؟ 40، وال40 بعد 10 سنين 10، بعد 20 سنة مش هيبقى في حد.
Islam will take over the world. Yes.
Hey, Muhammad taught hatred. Islam is hatred.
Your kids will be Muslim.
Sagt hat, zu uns in Deutschland inzwischen gehört.
سنخصمهم وسوف ننزل وسوف ننجب منهم لأننا سوف نفتح بلادهم رغم أنوفكم يا أيها الألمان، يا أيها الأمريكان، يا أيها الفرنسيون، يا أيها الطليان، يا كل من على وزن الطليان، خذوا اللاجئين سنطلبهم منكم قريبا. باسم دولة الخلافة القادمة
اللهم شتت الجزائر ويكتب أطفالهم، اللهم انصر الإسلام في كل مكان.
What I've noticed with the people that follow this ideology is that they switch from aggressor to victim in a split second. And I always go to the Quran and I say, okay, so if Muslims are telling people that Tommy Robinson is a supremacist, yeah, I can go to the Quran, Quran 3 verse 110, and it states that Muslims are the best people on the planet. Now, when we talk about supremacy and we talk about ideologies that create a narrative that makes people think that they're better than other people, this clearly states that Muslims are better than all the other creation. Now, you and I, the people on this panel, are not Muslims. Okay, so in this Quran, it states that the people that follow Islam are better than us. What is interesting is that they would have a problem with Tommy Robinson, even if they think he's a supremacist, when they themselves are supremacists. So I would ask the Muslims on this panel, just for the sake of it, do you think you are better than people who are not Muslim?
Read a verse fully illustrate a bit of belief.
I'm asking you, do you think you are better?
What did you say again?
Do you think, if someone pull the verse up, please? It's Quran 3:110.
I'll read it.
Yeah, go on.
You are the best nation produced as an example for mankind. You enjoy what is right and forbid what is wrong, and believe in Allah. If only the people of the scripture had believed, it would have been better for them. Among them are believers, but most of them are definitely disobedient.
Okay, so are Muslims the best community on the planet for mankind?
But it depends what you're trying to say.
No, I'm reading the Quran. Don't ask me what depends what I'm trying to say. The Quran just says that you're the best people on the planet.
Right.
Do you think you're the best? Do you think you're better than me because you're a Muslim?
I never said that. It says that you're the best nation produced.
Yeah, the best nation produced. Yeah, the Muslims are the best nation.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, the best nation on the planet. Are you better than me?
But then that would be the same for a Christian. That would be the same for if you
No,
answer the question first. Gang, answer the question first.
Please answer the question. Do you think you're better than me because you're a Muslim?
Yeah, definitely. Because I worship the Creator and the one.
Thank you very much. And this is what we're talking about now. We have a person who thinks it's okay to have sex with children, and two, we have a person who actually says that they think they're better than people that are not have the same ideology as them. People, all I'm gonna say is wake the fuck up to what ideology is on your doorstep.
One of the loopholes of this government is they allow the freedom of expression.
We want to see Sharia here, and it will be. The flag of La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah will be, inshallah, in the White House if that's what we choose to be. It just takes time. The American people are waking up now.
Allah does say that the whole world eventually will be under his ruling. The world will come down to where everybody obeys the laws of God.
There's no compulsion in Islam. That means we can't force it on you. But we will force Islamic Sharia, inshallah.
There are some Muslims amongst us these days who want to go around and say, oh, Islam was never spread by the sword. That's a blatant lie. It was spread many times by the sword. The Sharia was spread by the sword. The implementation of Sharia was spread by the sword.
It is absolutely correct to say if you can't learn from the events of Nazi Germany,
A man who came to be known as the so-called mastermind of 9/11, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. Dr. James Mitchell joins us now, and he is also author of the new book, Enhanced Interrogation, Inside the Minds and Motives of the Islamic Terrorists Trying to Destroy America. Dr. Mitchell, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me on. What he said to me was that our civil liberties and our openness and our willingness to be responsive to other people's cultures were actually gifts from his God, that they were weaknesses and flaws that he had put into, his God, Allah, had put into the American culture so that we could be defeated. He said that the easiest way to do that, in spite of the fact that Al-Qaeda dreamed of these big, huge, catastrophic attacks, that wasn't particularly practical. That the easiest way to win the long battle to take over the world with Sharia law was actually through immigration and by outbreeding non-Muslims. He said that like-minded jihadi brothers would immigrate to Western democracies and to the United States. They would wrap themselves in our civil liberties for protection. They would support themselves in our welfare systems while they spread their jihadi message. And then, when the time was right, they would rise up and attack.
And then, when the time was right, they would rise up and attack. When the time was right, they would rise up and attack.
ونبشرهم بأننا على موعد أن نفتح روما كما فتحت القسطنطينية وكما ستفتح ثانية. إننا على موعد أن نحكم العالم كما قال الحبيب المصطفى صلى الله عليه وسلم.
فتحت القسطنطينية بقى الشق الثاني من البشرى وهو فتح ايه؟ رومية. ومعنى هذا أن الإسلام سيعود إلى أوروبا مرة أخرى. ربما يكون الفتح القادم إن شاء الله هو فتح الدعوة والفكر، ليس من الضروري أن يكون الفتح بالسيف. يعني قد نفتح هذه البلاد بدون جيوش، أن نريد جيوش من الدعاة والمعلمين.
كافر يا لطيف. The worst word that can ever be written. A sign of infidelity, disbelief, filth. A sign of dirt.
He calls Jews pigs who will be killed when the end of the world comes.
O Muslim, behind me is the Jew. Come and kill him. All of them. Every single one of them.
Just to show where our loyalty belongs to. You see this flag here? It's going to go on the floor. And to us, our loyalty does not belong to this flag. Our loyalty belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Takbir. Allahu Akbar. Allah.
Go to your queen and tell her to change the laws.
Change the laws to what, sir? To Sharia law?
No, change the laws to not allow any more Muslims to come to Canada. Like if you are bothered by Muslims, because we owe our allegiance and our loyalty first and foremost to our religion, not to the queen. Okay. To be honest, when I went for my so-called oath, I was silent. I didn't say anything. It was your responsibility to make sure you got it out of me. So when I didn't say anything, I'm not liable to any.